record on this computer. Right. Good. Mhm. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Tonight is the 24th night of Jumad al-Akhirah 1445, synchronizing with the 5th of January 2024. And this is one session, or the first episode of two episodes, to do with a very important topic, and that is called blind following. Blind following. In Arabic, at-taqlid al-a'ma. Somebody had asked me, I don't know if he's here or not, whether we're going to be going through text or it's just normal lectures. Yes, there is a text. We're going to be taken from two books, and that is Sifat Salat al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, prayer described by Shaykh al-Albani, and this is the introduction of it. And also Hukm al-Taqlid, the rule of Taqlid for the Shaykh Ahmed al-Hanbali, and I'm taking the checking of Abdul Aziz. So we're going to go to the, first of all, the definition of taqlid and a'ma, blind following. Blind following it means that the person takes the verdict of a person, takes his sayings, adopt his position, and blind means without a proof. Just simply because he had done it, I will do it. He had said it, I will take it. He had gave me the fatwa, I will act upon it. That's called at-taqlid al-a'ma. And you will see that the word at-taqlid al-a'ma is blameworthy in number of texts. But we have to understand that we do not really attack the taqlid, the blind following. No. That is important for you to understand this, because the people, they're different in their level of understanding. What we fight is not the blind following itself, but to take the blind following as a religion. What is the difference between the two? You see, the people, in terms of their deen knowledge, are of three categories. Two categories on extreme sides and one in the middle. The top one, the category of the mujtahid, the scholar, the one who has the tools of making ijtihad. Ijtihad means to deduce a verdict out of the proofs from the Quran and the Sunnah, using the usuls, fundamentals and the principles, using the fiqh. So he would come to a conclusion. That's a faqih, muhaddith. So he's a scholar, mujtahid. This person, when he wants to arrive to a verdict regarding a certain matter in Islam, he's not allowed to make taqlid, blind following. Why? Because he has the tools. He knows how the hadith is going to be authentic or not. He knows how to derive and to come to the conclusion this is halal or this is haram. So that is why we say that this person, he is the extreme, the top. That's the one. Extreme maybe is not the correct word, but he's on the top. This is mujtahid. Now the mujtahid, sometimes he does some taqlid. If it's, for example, his ijtihad in a particular subject in the deen, because the deens are subjects. You have exegesis, tafsir, you have aqidah, you have hadith, you have faqih. So you'll find, for example, Imam Shafi, he does taqlid to Imam Ahmed in terms of the hadith, whether it's authentic or not. And he's Imam, and he's the teacher of Imam Shafi is the teacher of Imam Ahmed. So we're not saying that he does not do taqleed, but most of what he does is always ijtihad. But in a certain area, like this is faqih, he's not really that strong in the hadith faculty. So he will take from the muhaddith whether this hadith is what? Authentic or not. So he had adopted him because he himself is not as good to arrive to the same conclusion as the one who has got the specialty of checking up the hadith. But we say that he is mujtahid. Taqleed in his case, we call it is a necessity. So do you understand that? So this is mujtahid, but the taqleed for him is a necessity. Second category, which is the other extreme, is the layman. The layman is the person who has no knowledge. And even if he reads, even if he is PhD in physics, but still layman in the religion, he's a person, he could read the hadith, he could read the Quran. Maybe he's got even hifz of the Quran. Maybe he's got 10 recitations. But in terms of the knowledge, he is layman. He doesn't know. And when he reads the hadith, he cannot distinguish whether this hadith is sahih or not. He hasn't got any tools whatsoever. He's a person, we wouldn't call him illiterate, because the Prophet ﷺ was illiterate, yet he was the most knowledgeable. He could be reading and writing, and I could have said he could be professor in physics or whatever, but he has got nothing to do with the deen. So this person, we say to him to make taqleed. He makes taqleed, and we call it blind following. But the word blind in English or in Arabic, it does hold criticism in it, because a'ma is complete a'ma. But this person, he can really somehow can use some of those primitive tools that he's got at his hands and available still to distinguish, but he's still muqallid. So for example, when it comes to the banks, halal or haram, so he has a verdict from Sheikh Ibn Baz. He heard about Ibn Baz, says haram. And he has a verdict from Mansour ibn Khalid. I created this name by the way myself. It doesn't exist. Mansour ibn Khalid. But Mansour ibn Khalid, he says it's halal. Now himself, if he chose Mansour ibn Khalid, which is not known, because he likes him. Why? He goes with him whims and desire. He is saying it is halal to have the riba. That's not correct. But for him to say, I say it's haram, akhi. Who said that? Well, Sheikh Ibn Baz. Why do you take Sheikh Ibn Baz? Because I believe he's famous. Everybody knows him. I feel relaxed to him. That's called blind following. But as I said, it's not completely blind. The completely blind is different. He's taking this person because he believes I'm relaxed his fatwa. That's the second category. The middle one, which is many people, including some scholars, they don't acknowledge this level, which is the third tabaqa level. And that is the one in the middle. They're not scholars to have the tools of ijtihad, and they're not a layman. They are like yourself, طلاب العلم, students of knowledge. Where these people, sometimes they've got power enough to understand that, well, this Sheikh al-Albani made checking up of this hadith, and the Sheikh so-and-so is less knowledgeable in hadith-wise than the Sheikh. He made this hadith not authentic. So Sheikh al-Albani made it authentic, but that person didn't make it authentic. But he himself can see and read what was the argumentation of the Sheikh al-Albani when he made it authentic, and what was the argumentation of that person who is not as knowledgeable as Sheikh al-Albani made it not authentic. Okay? But he arrived to the conclusion that person is correct, even if he's not Sheikh al-Albani. So why? Because he can distinguish. So this person, we say to him, well, you're not allowed to make ijtihad like the mujtahideen, and you're not allowed to be like the muqallideen without just knowledge. That's it. Sheikh al-Albani, relax to him, you take Sheikh al-Albani, you're student of knowledge. You have to see. So that is the three categories. So what we say, Taqleed is no problem. But what is the problem? To take it as a deen. What is taking it as a deen? Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he says, to make it compulsory for the person to take knowledge from the one who is beside the ma'soom. Ma'soom is the infallible, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And he says that him is his words for me, regardless of what anybody says, then he has to be yustatab. Ooh, what a big word. That means he has to be asked to repent to Allah. So any person, he says, I take Abu Hanifa. Okay. Right. But Abu Hanifa for me doesn't make any mistakes. The Prophet of Allah, the scholar, they said this hadith, Shaykh Abu Hanifa did not do it because he did not see this hadith. No. Abu Hanifa, that is the one who is not correct. Because he's taken the taqleed as a deen. No problem is making taqleed to Abu Hanifa in a matter where he believes is correct, but at the same time, he sometimes follows maybe the students of Abu Hanifa. Do you know that Muhammad al-Shaybani and Abu Yusuf Yaqub were the two premier students, and Isam al-Balkhi, who's taken his students are to be his teachers, and Imam Abu Hanifa, the teachers of all, they have differed from the Imam Abu Hanifa more than a third in the madhab. Give you an example. Salatul Istisqa. Abu Hanifa, he said there is no istisqa. Istisqa means he's seeking rain through the prayer. And we have number of occasions where the Prophet of Allah, he went out for istisqa. He made istisqa in khutbatul Jum'ah as well. But Abu Hanifa, because it did not arrive to him the conclusion for this, so he said, no istisqa. But Al-Imam Muhammad al-Shaybani and Yaqub Abu Yusuf and also Isam al-Balkhi, they have said, all of them, that there is istisqa. Actually, Isam al-Balkhi was different from a point that Abu Hanifa and the two premier students were together, and he differed from them. Why? Because he's not taking the taqleed as a deen. It's not a religion. These people, they are shuyukh and scholars, but it doesn't mean they are to be infallible. So, when we're going to talk about, inshallah, some books and some of these things that you need to read regarding the taqleed, I advise you, there is a book, unfortunately it's not in the Maktaba Shamila, and you have to download it by itself, so you can't really make a search into it because it's just like they said, they have made it like an image. And that is, هل المسلم ملزم باتباع مذهب معين? Is the Muslim is abiding to follow a certain madhab? This book is named as well Hadiyatul Sultan li Muslimi Bilad al-Yaban. The Sultan's hadiyah, which is gift to the people who lives in Japan. The author of this one, Muhammad Sultan al-Ma'sumi al-Makki, and he was a teacher in the Haram. He had given them this gift because the people in Japan, when they started embracing Islam, they were saying which type of religion we're going to follow. Because the Muslims there, they were fighting. We have to give them Abu Hanifa's flavor, Abu Hanifa's version. Because, ya ikhwani, as I said to you, blind following or a tamadhub, taking a school of thought as a deen, resulted in the splitting of the ummah. Yes. Splitting of the ummah so much that the Shafi'i and the Hanafi, they will never be together. Even the Hanafi, he would treat the Shafi'i just like from the people of the book. So he would allow for his man, the Hanafi, to marry from the female Shafi'i, but not vice versa. He will never allow a Shafi'i male to get a woman from the Hanafi. Because they say, the Shafi'i, ana mu'minun insha'Allah. I'm a believer, if Allah wills. Abu Hanifa, he says, or the Hanafi's followers, he said, this is kufr. Because for them, is iman is one lump. The Maturidiyya Aqidah is one lump. Not Abu Hanifa himself, the followers of Abu Hanifa. So those, they said, this person is a kafir. So how can we allow it? We said, well, we'll make them like the people of the book. We give them we take their females, but we'll not allow them to take our females. This is Mufti al-Thaqalain, the Mufti of the jinn and mankind is called. This is the one who had found a solution to make the Hanafi man allowed to go and marry a female from the Shafi'iyah. Ikhwani, none of those madhahib holders had acknowledged this thing or prompted this thing or encouraged this thing. On the contrary, it's the opposite. Abu Hanifa used to tell off his two students. He was stuck on his Yaqub. What are you writing? So I'm writing what you're saying. He said, don't do that. We are people to say something today, we change our opinion the following day. Okay? And I will tell you now, do you remember the example I gave you, which is the Salat al-Istisqa, Abu Hanifa, okay, say that the new Salat al-Istisqa, I am now wrong to attribute this to Abu Hanifa. I said, Abu Hanifa said it, that there is no Salat al-Istisqa, but to tell you the outcome of what I'm going to say to you, that I should not say that this mas'ala, this matter is to Abu Hanifa. Why? Because Abu Hanifa said, إِذَا صَحَّ الْحَدِيثُ فَهُوَ مَذْهَبِي. If the hadith is authentic, it is what? My madhab. So if Abu Hanifa was alive, who will adopt to what? That there will be Salat al-Istisqa. So when I say Salat al-Istisqa is being proved to be from the Prophet of Allah there, I am Hanafi more than the Hanafi who says there is no Salat al-Istisqa. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because Abu Hanifa, he was alive, he would have. And we, by the way, we're going to be in our course teaching the book, Raf' al-Malal, yeah? Yes? Raf' al-Malam, the book of Ibn Taymiyyah, in which we will see the reasons why these scholars had differed amongst one another. Why Abu Hanifa is different from Shafi, different from Imam Malik, different from Imam Hanbal. And there's other Imams, Imam al-Layth, Imam Sa'ad, Imam al-Thawri, lots of Imams. But those Imams, their students did not really support the methodology of those Imams. But as Abu Hanifa had so many students. And the same thing for Imam Shafi, al-Maliki, and Hanbali. So we do have in history where there was 4 qiblas in one qibla. Meaning, each masjid will have 4 mihrabs. Mihrab for the Shafi'i followers. Mihrab for the Hanafi followers. Mihrab for the Hanbali followers. Mihrab for the Maliki followers. Did you know that it was in the Haram? In the Haram of Mecca, each prayer was prayed 4 times. So Dhuhr 4 times. Asr 4 times. Why? Because the Shafi'i does not pray behind the Hanafi and vice versa. And the Maliki does not pray behind the Hanbali and vice versa. Subhanallah. Because of that fiqh issues and that aqid, well, aqid I would say all the scholars of that, mashallah, on the same hand. But the fiqh issues, like let's say for example, Imam Shafi says that if the person is to bleed, then your wudu is invalid. For the Hanafis, no problem. For the Shafi'i, he says if you kiss, no, sorry. If for the Shafi'i, the Hanafi says if you bleed, your prayer is invalid because your wudu is invalid. And the Shafi'i says no problem. And as for the Hanafi regarding kissing the woman, he says no problem. But the Shafi'i says your wudu is invalid if you kiss the woman, your wife. So if, for example, a person who is abiding himself with the school of thought of the Hanafi, no way, Abu Hanifa, he's my religion. He sees a person who's bleeding from his finger, he's about to pray. Would he pray behind him? No. Because for him, this Imam's wudu is what? Invalid. Because this for him, wudu will be invalidated because of the discharge of the blood. Vice versa. The Shafi'i, so the Hanafi Imam was going to lead. He has just touched his wife. Just touched her like this. Would he be praying behind him? No. Because he thinks this Imam, his wudu is invalid. Because the Shafi'i said, touching the woman, just a touch, it will invalidate your wudu. That's why we ended up with 4 prayers. Just about 60, 70 years ago, they united the prayers to be one. There's no such thing, Hanafi and Maliki and Shafi'i. Each one has his own followers and own Imam. We had 4 religions. Wallah ya ikhwani, at the time of Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, who taught him his father. His father was a Mufti Hanafi for the Albanians. Mufti, one of the big Muftis. And he had taught his son, Shaykh al-Albani, Muhammad Rasil al-Albani, to be on the Hanafi school of thought. Okay? But later on, Shaykh al-Albani started reading and he forget it. He said that there is no such thing that I have to abide by a certain madhab. And that's why he started reading from a different school of thoughts to such an extent that his father had disowned him because he had left what? The deen, not the madhab, the deen. You know, Shaykh al-Albani once he said, because I said such and such in a matter in the religion, they have imposed upon me that I have to be lashed. Usually, lashed. Because he's taken a different stand from the Hanafi madhab. He has to be lashed. Look how far they go to. You've heard in the history, a person from the West traveled to the people who are in Iraq, which is the Hanafi, next to the rivers, or beyond the rivers, Kazakhstan, and all these, they were Hanafi. He traveled from there, and him is Maliki, they move the fingers for the prayer, the tashahhud. He was warned in that area not to move his finger, and he was moving his finger. They chopped it off. They will not allow a person to move his finger while he's praying in that masjid, which is abiding by the Hanafi madhab. So it's not the, 4 choices. No, Allah. It's 4 groups, 4 factions, 4 deens. That is how coming to. That's what we'll learn, inshallah, what is the person should be doing regarding a matter. Should he be abiding by a madhab? Why is it that we find, for example, the scholars who are mighty scholars, and we know them, they say they have studied on the usul al-Hanbaliyah. Like Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, he studied the deen on what? On the usul al-Hanbaliyah. But is he Hanbali? Is he just abiding himself to the Imam Hanbal? I will tell you, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah had differed from Imam Hanbal in a number of matters, rahimahullah. Khwani, the usul, meaning if you study on principles or on foundations of a particular imam, it doesn't mean that you are abiding with every word he's saying. But this is usul, principles. How can I derive an issue? No problem. I will adopt this, but I might not arrive to the same conclusion. You know that Imam Ibn Baz, rahimahullah, and I call him Imam, and Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, I could call him the Imam as well. They have made a revolution in the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. A revolution. Do you know what's the revolution? Because in the Bilad of Al-Haramain, the adopted madhab is the Hanbali. And they're so strict into it as well. Just like as the Hanafi are strict with their Hanafi madhab. Imam Ibn Baz, rahimahullah, in number of issues, he championed the Sunnah. Give you an example. Madhab al-Hanbali, did you know regarding putting the right on the left is actually below the navel or just on the navel or just above the navel? It's not above the chest, as people they think. No. It's like almost like the madhab of what? Hanafi. Almost. And they're strict more than the Hanafis. And they say the hadith, to put it on the chest, is not correct. But Imam Ibn Baz, when he was asked about this question, he said the sunnah is to put it on the chest because the hadith regarding this issue is authentic. That's a revolution for an imam. Imam Ibn Baz is not just a normal person. He was the head of the Lajna Da'ima. He was a scholar as to be considered the top scholar in Saudi Arabia. Same thing with Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, the revolution he had done. So they have liberated them from the madhab, so-called madhab al-Hanbali. Of course, madhab Imam Ahmed himself. He himself, if a person reached the level of to see whether this hadith is authentic or not authentic, he has no right to make taqleed. So when you take the words of Abu Hanifah, you can't take it from him unless you know how did he derive it. What was his proof? Let me check. Because you have reached the level to distinguish whether this is authentic or this is what? Not authentic. So coming to the text of Hukm al-Taqleed, he says, وجوب طاعة الرسول دون غيره. You have to obey the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not the others. As I said, حكم التقليد للشيخ Ahmed al-Hanbali. He says that it is must to obey the Prophet. And then he says there's no doubt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had obligated on his servants to obey him and to obey the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قال الله اتبعوا ما أنزل إليكم من ربكم. Follow what has been revealed to you from your Lord. ولا تتبعوا من دونه أولياء. And do not follow beside them أولياء, close friends, people who will lead you. Also Allah, he said, قل أطيعوا الله والرسول. That is, obey Allah and His Messenger. Also Allah, he said, وَإِن تُطِيعُوهُ تَهْتَدُوا. If you obey Him, then you will what? Be guided. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never had obligated on this ummah to obey any person in his particular person or individual in everything that He commands and everything that He prohibits, save Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's only the Prophet of Allah. So the scholars had agreed. There's no one has infallibility except for our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those Imams, they have prohibited to those Imams which I'm talking about, Abu Hanifah and Imam Malik and Imam Shafi and Imam Ahmed Muhammad, in that order, they have, all of them, prohibited the people to follow them without knowing their proofs. And that is for the person who distinguishes. So they're not to follow them in everything they say. I'm going to quote now from the book of Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah in his introduction, which is a revolution. Wallahi. Before you start reading the book, read from that. I'll give you inshallah just some reading and I'll give you some break. قال الإمام الألباني رحمه الله, that I'm going to drive to you and narrate for you some of those sayings of the Imams to tell them that they should not follow them blindly without knowing their proofs. And then he quoted the same ayah, اتبعوا ما أنزل إليكم من ربكم. Number one, Abu Hanifah. He's the first Imam, Abu Hanifah Nu'man ibn Thabit. He had narrated, and he said, it's been narrated from him, saying to his students, so many sayings, all of them, they go to one target, one thing, which is you have to take the hadith. And you should not be a blind follower to the Imams. This is what had happened to the kuffar when they were asked, why do you worship this? Are you not following the Prophet? إِنَّا وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا عَلَى أُمَّةٍ وَإِنَّا عَلَى آثَارِهِمْ لَمُهْتَدُونَ. So we found those our fathers upon this, we follow them. No checking up whether halal, shirk or not shirk. So this Imam, he says, إِذَا صَحَّ الْحَدِيث فَهُوَ مَذْهَبِي. If the hadith is authentic, that's my madhab. That's my way of thinking. This is my verdict. Then he said, لا يحل لأحد. It's not permitted for anyone. أن يأخذ بقولنا, to adopt what we say. ما لم يعلم من أين أخذناه. Unless he knows where we took it from. How did we derive it? And another narration, haram, prohibited. Haram, you know haram. على من لم يعرف دليلي أن يفتي بكلامي. Wallahi, this is strong. It is haram upon the one who doesn't know my proof to make fatwa in compliance with my words. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's haram, he said, haram. To make fatwa based upon my saying, and he does not know the proof. So it's haram who does not know the proof for my fatwa to go in compliance with my fatwa, or to adopt my fatwa. And also he said, we are nana bashar. We are a human being. We say the saying today, and we change our mind the following day. وَيْحَكَ يَعْقُوب. Abu Yusuf, woe to you, student. Don't write everything that you hear from me. I say the thing today, and I change myself and my mind tomorrow, and I leave what I said. And I see the following day, and I'll adopt something else, and the day after, I will leave it. خُذْ مِنْ حَيْثُ أَخَذْنَا. Allah. Wallahi, this is the saying of Abu Hanifah rahmatullah. I wish the Hanafis, they know what Abu Hanifah had said. And he said, if I have said something which differ from the book of Allah and His Sunnah, then abandon my saying. What was one of these things that you have learned, where Abu Hanifa had said, most of the Hanafi followers, the ones who are laymen, they don't know about, where he had contradicted the Quran and the Sunnah. Can you give me an example which I've already taught in this class? What does Abu Hanifa say regarding something which is clear cut? Come on. Salah the Rain have just said it, but this is not really the big issue. It's something which is, even the kid, he knows it's haram. Abu Hanifa says halal. Naam. Huh? The wine from where? No, grapes is haram for him. From anything but the grapes. For him, the wine from the grapes is haram. Whether the little or too much. But for the wine extracted from dates, from barley, from wheat, from anything apart from the grapes, only it is haram if you reach the limit of drunkenness. So you could have 1 can of beer, 2 cans of beer, as long as you don't get drunk, halal. And that's in the book of Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, or in the teachings of Abu Hanifa. I'm not saying the students had adopted the same thing. But nobody had stood up courageously to say Abu Hanifa is wrong. They start making ta'wilat. Well, yeah, he said wrong. No problem, say he's wrong. Abu Hanifa made a mistake. But do you know what? Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا اجْتَهَدَ الْحَاكِمْ فَأَصَابَ فَلَهُ أَجْرٌ وَإِنْ أَخْطَأَ فَلَهُ أَجْرٌ. If the verdict been said by somebody who was a hakim, scholar, and he had hit the target, he's got 2 rewards, double. And if he missed the target, he was making a mistake, he's got 1 reward. So he's fluctuating between 2 and 1 reward. There's no sin upon him. So Abu Hanifa is rewarded for saying that. He didn't say it from whims and desire. Do you know why he said it's halal? Because he had some narrations from the companions, like Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. When they were in Kufa, they were having the nabidh of al-Kufa. Nabidh means wine. Nabidh of Kufa was made from dates. When he was asked, how can you make this halal? He said, do you want me to make the companions to be rebellious? Fasiqun? Doing mischief? I will never do that. Because if he said it's haram, according to him, well, the companions drank it. So that means this companion is what? Is one of those no good people. I'm not going to say it. But he didn't know, rahimahullah, that whatever Abdullah ibn Mas'ud drank is not the one which has got intoxication. Maybe he didn't know Abdullah ibn Mas'ud himself when he drank it, because we do have some companions, they were selling alcohol, like Jabir ibn Samura, radiyallahu anhu. He never knew it's haram to go and sell alcohol. He never knew that the Prophet ﷺ said that it's haram with the khamr 10. One of them is to sell it. One of them is to buy it. One of them to carry the grapes to the person who's going to extract it. And so on and so forth. 10 being cursed with the drink with the alcohol. So this is Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi. A great Imam setting an example for us. So he says, Abu Hanifa also, I'm going to add to Shaykh al-Albani's book from Hukm al-Taqlid, Shaykh Ahmed. He says, Alimna hadha ra'i. He said, we knew that this is an opinion. And this is the best I could really give. But who comes up with something better, we will accept it. Look at that. So it's not really saying, my opinions are right, no way I'm going to adopt anything else. No, he said, if you can something better, we will adapt it. That's Abu Hanifa rahmatullah. Coming to the second Imam, and Imam Malik. Do you want to have the break now? Or shall we give a bit more? 5 minutes. Imam Malik, rahimahullah. He said, I am a human being. I make mistakes, and sometimes I'm correct. Look at what I say. Everything that is synchronizing with the Quran and the Sunnah, take it. And everything that does not synchronize with the Quran and the Sunnah, leave it. Also, he said, there is nobody after the death of the Prophet ﷺ that his saying can be taken completely. It could be taken and could be left, except for the Prophet of Allah himself. And another nation, illa sahibu hadha al-qabr, except for the one who's in that grave, and because he was the mufti of the Medina, Dar al-Hijrah. Third, قال ibn Wahb, one of the students of Imam Malik, he said, سمعت مالكا, I've heard Malik. He was asked about making takhleel between the toes of the feet. Takhleel is to put that little finger between your toes when you make the wudu. So he answered the people. He said, well, this is not from the Prophet ﷺ. So Ibn Wahdi said, I left him until the people who were around him they were left, or they left, because he doesn't want to in front of everybody tell him what he had heard or what he thinks is correct. So I said to him, we have sunnah regarding this issue. So he said, Imam Malik, what is it? He said, حدثنا الليث بن سعد. الليث بن سعد narrated to us عن ابن لهيعة وعمرو بن الحارث وعن يزيد بن عمرو المعافري عن أبي عبد الرحمن الحبلي. So this one, a narration being narrated in front of Imam Malik. عن المستورد القرشي, which is the Sahabi. مستورد بن شداد القرشي, he said, I have seen the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. So المستورد, Sahabi, he had seen the Prophet ﷺ with his little finger making takhleel. That means wiping in between the toes. So straight away, this narrations, who is from whom to whom to whom, entered the computer of Imam Malik, and he said, هذا حديث حسن. This is authentic. He's muhaddith. So that he entered, he had processed it. And that's authentic. Hasan. So he said, I've never heard this hadith except for today. So Ibn Wahab, he said, and I've heard him after that, was asked about the same question. But now he commands the people to make takhleel. As soon as he had heard that there is a hadith from whom? From the Prophet. And he deemed it to be authentic, straight away he'll follow it. And that is going to be as well coming across to us in the book رفع الملام عن الأئمة الأعلام, to lift the blame away from the great scholars, is one of the reasons like this. He didn't know about the hadith, except now, never heard of it. So not every person knows everything. And Imam Shafi, mashallah, so many sayings. I mean, very good and even better than the two Imams before him. There's lots of sayings from Imam Shafi. And I'll tell you what, Imam Shafi has got the book of Al-Umm, the mother. He's got a student called Al-Muzani. This Muzani student, he had put a hashiyah. Hashiyat Al-Muzani is called. This hashiyah means like a footnote, but it's not the footnote. It's side and footnotes. It's on the side, It's not just on the foot. Onto the book of the Shafi. So it says, Kitab al-Umm ma hashiyat al-Muzani. And he starts the first words in his hashiyah, al-Muzani. He says, this is the Kitab al-Umm, dictated by Imam Shafi. So he's acknowledging that this is the book of the Shaykh, Imam Shafi. Then he says, ma'a i'lamihi. And he had at the same time told me that binahyihi, but he prohibits a person to make blind following of him. مع إهلامه بنهيه عن تقليده. So he told his student, I'm going to write in this, but I'm prohibiting anybody to take from this unless he knows my proof. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. This is the hashiyah of Al-Muzani. Imam Shafi, he says, ما من أحد, not a single person, إلا وتذهب عليه سنة لرسول الله وتعزب عنه. He will miss one of the sunnahs of the Prophet of Allah. He doesn't know everything about the Prophet. For whatever I say from the sayings, or I gave a principle from the Prophet ﷺ, which is different from what I say, so the saying is the saying of the Prophet. And the saying of the Prophet is my saying. So if I say, touching the woman does not invalidate the wudu, which is in contrast to what Imam Shafi said will invalidate the wudu, I am saying the Shafi'i madhab. I am more Shafi'i than those who claim themselves to be Shafi'i. If I say that there is no qunut in the Fajr like the Shafi'is, they do. They do qunut al-Fajr. Every Fajr they do qunut, the Shafi'iyah. If I say, no, it's not correct, hadith and it is not authentic, and the qunut is only qunut al-Nawazil, there's no such thing qunut al-Fajr. Qunut al-Nawazil in all the 5 daily prayers. Then I am more Shafi'i than those people who call themselves Shafi'iyah. Imam Malik, rahimahullah, just before we go to the Shafi'i as well, I just remembered something about Imam Malik. Regarding his hands on the sides. This is something that had happened. And the people, if you go to travel to Morocco or some to Algeria as well, you find people now still, they put in there, right on the left, on their side, just like the Rafidah they do, the Shafi'i, Shia. When they say, well, this is madhab Maliki. No, this is not madhab Maliki. Not madhab Maliki as not just according to what we said, Maliki, if he has to be alive, he will adopt my saying. But no, Imam Malik in his Muwatta, he said, narrated the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, Inna ma'shar al-anbiya, hadith Abi Hurairah. Umirna, we are the prophets who've been commanded to hasten the breaking of the fast, to delay the sahur meal, and to put the right on the left in the prayer. How come he narrates this hadith and then at the same time he does like this? He narrates that the Prophet has been commanded to put the right and the left, and then he does like this. So what was the reason then? This is at the time of Al-Khalifa al-Mansur. And the Wali al-Madinah, the Medina mayor, you call him, Sulaiman ibn Ja'far, he had whipped him, lashed him, so much until his shoulders dislocated. Why he whipped him? Because of a fatwa he made. Because he fears Allah. He doesn't really give the fatwa according to what the leaders they want, which is that talaqul mukrah la yaqa'. The divorce of a person who divorces his wife under compulsion, it will not take place. Because they wanted it to be taken place. So that these mayors can force the people, divorce her, that's it. Divorce will be valid. He said, no, this is not valid divorce. Because of that, they what? Lashed him. Until his shoulders was dislocated and he can't even put his right on the left. So he prayed for a number of prayers with his hands like this. Some of the people adopted that. They thought that this is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And there's a booklet, Urshad al-Salik, في إرسال الإمام مالك, تحقيق الشيخ مشهور رحمه الله, talks about this issue. Going back, Urshad al-Salik means to tell the person who is wants the truth about why Imam Malik did like this. Imam Shafi, he says, أجمع المسلمون. Muslims are having consensus that who has got a sunnah from the Prophet of Allah, it's not halal for him, it's not permissible for him to leave that hadith, that sunnah of the Prophet, which he had seen it, which he had acknowledged it, for the saying of somebody else. You have come to know that this is from the Prophet, and then at the same time, you leave it because Abu Hanifah didn't take it. Imam Malik did not do it. Imam Shafi did not say it. Imam Ahmed Hanbal did not do it. No. You knew it's sunnah, you take that sunnah. Fourthly, إذا صح الحديث فهو مذهبي. If the hadith is authentic, it's my madhab. And then he said to his student, Imam Ahmed, this is to show his humbleness. أنتم أعلم منا بالحديث. You, Imam Ahmed, more knowledgeable than us in the hadith. And you are more knowledgeable than regarding the narrators were rijal. So you could have more checking of the hadith than me. فإذا كان الحديث صحيح. If the hadith is to be authentic, then tell us please. So that we could make a fatwa on it. Whether this hadith he says Kufi, from Kufa, Basri, from Basra, Shami, from Sham, in order to adopt this hadith and make the right fatwa. Allahu Akbar. So he's making taqleed in that issue to Imam Ahmed. Because Imam Ahmed is more, why? Imam Ahmed, he is a person who traveled much more than Imam Shafi. Traveled to many areas to collect hadith. So he knew more narrators than Imam Shafi. So Imam Shafi, out of humbleness, he said, well, you are more knowledgeable than me. But he is his teacher. So tell us about the hadith and check it up as well. If it's authentic, give it to us. We will make the fatwa according to the verdict of that hadith. And that is why you find Imam Shafi, lahu qawlan. He has two sayings. Why? In one matter, two sayings. قول في الشام وقول في مصر. القول القديم والقول الجديد. One in Bilad al-Sham, one in Egypt. Two sayings of Imam Shafi. Where Imam Ahmad, not qawlan, riwayatan. The difference between riwayatan and qawlan, that Imam Shafi had two opinions regarding this issue. But Imam Ahmad, it was narrated from somebody that Imam Ahmad said this on particular issue, and he said this on particular. So riwayatan, two riwayah. But in Imam Shafi, he had did actually al-qawl al-qadim, this old saying, and the new saying, based upon the authentic hadith. Also Imam Shafi said, if you have seen the hadith, is 100% against what I say, and yet I did not adopt the hadith, I'm still adapting to what I say, then know for a fact that my brains are gone. I'm majnoon. I'm not there. I'm not a person to be taken as a person who is fully healthy in my mind. How can it? That if I'm alive and there is a hadith and yet I'm saying it's different from that hadith, That means there's something, I'm majnoon. I'm crazy. I am mad. I'm not correct in the mind. Allahu Akbar. Imam Shafi one day, he was approached by a man. He said, Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, rahimahullah. He said to him, verily, Imam, I want to ask about this question. So the Imam, he said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Prophet he said, in that matter. So he said to him after that, what do you say, Imam? So Imam Shafi said, قال رسول الله. This is, so he said, what do you say? He said, did you see me coming out of the church? Did you see in my clothes a belt, like the belt of the priest? Huh? He come in. I said to you, قال رسول الله. You said, what did I say? Are you going priest? Well, what is it? I'm a Muslim. Adapting what the Prophet ﷺ said. That's what Imam Ahmed rahimahullah had said. And the last hadith he said, Kullu hadith, every hadith of the Prophet is my saying. Even if you did not hear it from me. By this we'll finish inshallah. And we'll go the second part. We'll continue Imam Ahmed, then we'll leave the questions and answers. Break of 10 minutes. Bismillah. Nothing here. Bismillah. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومواله. We are just going through the Imams saying regarding not to follow them and take their madhab as a deen. Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal rahimahullah, he was the Imam of all of these Imams, most who is following the Sunnah, gathering the Sunnah and holding on to the Sunnah. And he doesn't like to put these books which goes deep into the issues and these matters. Because, as I said, some of those who had followed these madhab, they have gone deep into some issues that we don't need to go it. We call it tafri'at. Something they imagine it and then they put it there and we don't need it. If I say it, you will be laughing your head off. And some of it I can't even say it because of the presence of the sisters here. It's something that hilarious. Why should we derive these things? So Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he doesn't like opinions. So in استطعت أن تحك رأسك بأثر فافعل. If you're able to scratch your head with a hadith, then do it. Scratch your hadith always with a hadith, not with anything, with a hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, لا تقلدني. Don't follow me. Don't be just mimicking me and everything. ولا تقلد مالكا, not Malik, or Shafi, or Auza'i, or Thawri, or any other man, and then take from what they have been taken if you are a person or able. Do not mimic the religion or copy, emulate the religion to any one of those. Take from what the companions had given you from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said the Auza'i's opinion, Malik's opinions, Abu Hanifah's opinions, all of it opinions, and all of it the same. But the proof is in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He who had rejected the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is about to be destroyed. He's putting himself in devastation. So these are the Imam's sayings and how they commanded us to hold on to the Quran and the Sunnah and not to follow them without knowing if they are correct or not. And this is what Allah Azza wa Jalla said, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِي مَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ. That by Allah, they will not be true believers until they make you, O Muhammad, the arbitrator in everything they dispute about. And then they will not find anything in their hearts of resentment regarding your judgment, and they submit in full. طيب. So we're coming now some of these followers of their Imams who had abandoned the sayings of their Imams. Some of the students of the Imams who abandoned the sayings of the Imam. We have talked about Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Shaybani and also Yaqub, his name Abu Yusuf. They have differed from their Imam with a third of their madhab of Abu Hanifa, rahmatullahi alayh. And the cream of the crop is that Shaykh al-Albani says, rahimahullah, that not allowed for any person from those who blind follow to speak ill against a book who had based its verdicts upon قال Allah, قال Rasul, and then to say that we abandon to benefit from what the Imams are saying. God forbid. No. We look at what Abu Hanifa said regarding the matter of, for example, raising up of the hands. We look at the matters. By the way, raising of the hands, Abu Hanifa doesn't say it. Nor Imam Muhammad al-Hasan al-Shaybani, nor Yaqub Abu Yusuf. Only Isam al-Balkhi, the student of all, he had made the raising up of the hands. Rahimahullah. So he says that the person, when he is doing a verdict or making a book, and he's building his verdicts upon Qala Allah, Qala Rasul, it doesn't mean that we put the sayings of the Imams in the bin, but we look at them and we see which one is the closest to the haqq. But the main thing is that the hadith or the ayah is the one that we derive from. It's not to memorize the mutun of the Imams. People now memorizes the mutun of Imams. Matnu Abi Shuja' and Matnu. He memorizes the wordings of saying of people. You should be memorizing the proofs of those Imams. How did they derive their verdicts? Then the Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, he says, there are some doubtful matters thrown by these people onto us, and we'd like to tackle them. Number one, they say that no problem, no doubt, that going back to the guidance of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our deen is compulsory, especially in those worships which are mere worship. And there is no way for our opinion to be in there or to make ijtihad, because it's tawqifi. It is from قال Allah, قال رسول, like the salah, dhuhr for rak'ah, asr for rak'ah, and so on and so forth. But we cannot hear, that's what they say, we cannot hear any of the shuyukh who are copying, they're commanding us to do this. But actually, on the contrary, we find them, they are confirming this differing. So no problem to be having 4 madhahib, you could choose. And they are saying it's okay to have a madhab. So the Muslim, he should be abiding by this madhab. Okay? Because they have said they depend upon this following hadith, which is not hadith, is invalid. اختلاف أمتي رحمة. The differing among my ummah is a mercy. So this hadith is actually contradicts what you are calling to, Imam Albani. So Shaykh al-Albani answers from 2 angles. First one, he says that this hadith is not authentic. It's batil. It's actually goes against what the Prophet of Allah said and what Allah, he had said in the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jal, he said, وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ. Do not be in dispute, and then you will be failing, and then your power will dissipate. وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا. Do not be from the polytheists who had split their religion, and they were in sects and partisans. وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّكَ. All of them, they will be differing except for what Allah had, your Lord had mercy upon. That means the one who synchronized. So the ones who has synchronized, the mercy of Allah is upon them. So the people of batil is always the ones who are different. So this hadith shows us it's not authentic. And also another hadith says, أصحابي كالنجوم بأيه مقتديتم اهتديتم. My companions like the stars. Whatever stars you take, you will be guided. Also, it's not authentic. All of it fabricated. So اختلاف أمتي رحمة, أصحابي كالنجوم, all of this hadith is not authentic. Some of them, they said that if the split and the differing in the religion is prohibited, so what do you say regarding the differing of the Sahabah and those Imams after them? Well, verily, we say the reason, we tackle this, that there is a big, huge difference between the differing that took place between the Sahaba and the differing that took place between these school of thoughts. Number one, regarding the reason of this differing, and number two is regarding what is the implementation of that such differing. So the Sahaba, when they differed because of necessity. Some of them did not hear about the hadith. He was away from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is a natural differing. They had no choice in it. It's not like the differing of the school of thoughts where they know that this is a hadith and this is a hadith, but they say, well, the Imam's saying is correct regardless. That's why Imam Abu al-Hasan al-Karhi, he said, any hadith that opposes what we say from Abu Hanifah is either mu'awwal or mansukh, mashallah. That means we have to reinterpret it to synchronize with the saying of the Imam Abu Hanifah, or mu'awwal or mansukh, meaning abrogated. Listen to this. This is blind following. They say, this Abu al-Hasan al-Karhi is a well-known person who's done al-ikhtiyarat, and he has done as well the checking of the al-jami'. So he said, Allah musta'an, any hadith that go and contradicts the Imams, our sayings of Hanafi saying, is either mu'awwal, that means it have to be reinterpreted, explained to match, or it could be mansukh, abrogated. There's another hadith which is being updated. This hadith is an update, so this is abrogated. Allahul musta'an. This is the blind following that we fight. This is the religious. So that means the saying of Hanifa is the one that we have to follow. So he say that the khilaf between these Imams, they have no excuse regarding this, because the followers, they're not following those Imams. The Imams, they said, don't follow us. Take from what we take. طيب. Cutting this in short, the cream of the crop. The Sahaba, they differed because it was a necessity. But they used to deny this differing. And they used to flee from it. Every time they find a way to flee from it in order to unite. As for those who are blind followers, with a possibility, and they have got the ability to get rid of this khilaf and this differing, yet they do not unite, nor they strive to unite. They don't want to unite. They don't want to look which proof is correct. They want to stay Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi. They don't want to see, like the Hanafis now, they don't take the wali. Not to look at the proofs of that has been introduced by the other scholars. Khalas, no wali in the marriage. As for the second reason as well, which is the implementation of this, he said, as for the Sahaba regarding their differing, which is in the subsidiaries matters, they used to be having unity amongst them. They are far away from split and splitting the ranks. Whereas those muqallida, the ones who are following the Imams and school of thought, this is on the contrary. Their differing had resulted in the split, even regarding the salah itself. So that's why each person will pray different from the other person, and he will not let another school of thought to lead him in the prayer. Subhanallah. So the Hanafi is not allowing for a Hanafiya woman to marry a Shafi'i man. Yes. And then the Mufti al-Kitab, he said, no, we'll treat him as a people of the book, so it's no problem allowed for the Shafi'i man, for the Hanafi man to marry a female Shafi'i. Allahul Musta'an. So, coming now to this book, which is هل المسلم ملزم باتباع مذهب معين. I will, inshallah, start with that. And I will talk about أنواع الاختلاف, أنواع التقليد, I should say, the types of taqleed. And I will talk about the introduction of this book, which is هل المسلم ملزم باتباع مذهب معين للإمام محمد سلطان المعصومي, which is هدية السلطان لمسلمي بلاد اليابان. There's an introduction for it. I will read that one as well, which is very important. If you have any question regarding what we've heard, please just go ahead. You've got another 10 minutes بإذن الله, or 15 minutes. جزاكم الله خيرا وأحسن الله إليكم. طيب, any questions? And please, let's just focus upon this topic, because this topic is very sensitive. تفضل. What do I advise the people who want to study the fiqh as from the start? Okay. The best fiqh is the fiqh al-muqaran. Fiqh al-muqaran, or al-muqarin, both is correct. Meaning, which is the fiqh that deals with the issues who are differing between all sorts of imams, whether Shafi'i or Thawri, Imam Malik, where is the difference? So then you will attach the differing with the proof. So one of the books that's great to read in this is Bulugh al-Maram, because it gives you the Adillat al-Ahkam. One of the books as well to read is, as a starter, in general, to read all of it, Al-Wajiz في فقه الكتاب في فقه السنة والكتاب العزيز. Also, Al-Lubab في فقه السنة والكتاب, Subh al-Khallaq, very good book as well. And he does a lot of, and all of it depending upon, mashallah, the authentication of the hadiths, especially of Shaykh al-Albani rahmatullahi alayhi. So these two books as well. Tarh al-Tathrib, great book in the fiqh. So to give you an outline, there's a book for Shaykh al-Halabi rahimahullah called Al-Awda ila Sunnah. This Awda ila Sunnah has got, I think, two versions, second version, in which he does give you the 3 stages of gaining the knowledge. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. In stage 1, what do you read in Aqidah? What do you read in Hadith? What do you read? So it starts with Al-Bayquniyya, for example, in the Hadith. What do you read? So Al-Awda ila Sunnah First stage, and then the second stage, and then the third stage. In the third stage, you become a proper student of knowledge. And each stage, what do you read? From the language, Qatrun Nada, for example, in the last stage, in the Arabic language, and so on and so forth. In each one, and they will give you, in the first stage, for example, Al-Wajiz. But as I said, Al-Wajiz was first, and then Al-Lubab came after, which is a very good book as well, for Subh al-Khalaq, because it contains other issues that Al-Wajiz doesn't contain it. نعم. الفقه المقارن. نعم. الله يحفظك. تفضل. Of course, when we said Abu Hanifa, he said, you're not allowed to take my saying without my proof on how we derived it. These sayings is not for the layman who has to follow, blind follow. But as I said, the problem is not to take that blind following as a deen, as a religion, to say, I'm a Hanafi. You should be Muhammadi, following the Prophet of Allah, but you in front of you, Abu Hanifa is saying, and you take it in this. But if there is another saying where you have Imam Shafi said something, and the proof is there with the Imam Shafi, and as a layman, you could see, oh, there's a proof here from the Prophet of Allah. And you are convinced, no, but I'm Hanafi. I'm not going to do this. So we say to the layman, as we're going to talk about, inshallah, next week, is it next week? Next week. The anwa' al-taqlid, what we should be doing, who is going to be muqallid, who's the one supposed to taqlid. In no way that this person who is a layman, and the layman, by the way, is categories. It's not just one category. The layman is a category. There's a layman, and there's layman who could read, layman who could know, he's been heard, he heard about, who's Albani. Some says the layman, they never heard about Albani. Never heard. I'll tell you what, one of the people was, mashallah, now was a good student knowledge. He said because he was in a particular jama'ah called Jama'at Tabligh, he didn't know about these scholars. All his scholars is like Mansour Khalid. Remember Mansour Khalid, and then the name I introduced, which is you don't know it. He was giving Mansour Khalid. So all of their scholars, their knowledgeable people is amongst them Mansour Khalid, Muhammad Aliyan. So when they went to Saudi Arabia, he said, as soon as those students of knowledge, they saw them, he said, they saw me. And where are you from? I said, from Saudi Arabia, from Jordan. He said, how is Sheikh Al-Albani? So I said, who? He doesn't know Sheikh Al-Albani. He's so much layman. He's supposed to be making khuruj to go and give talks to the people and teach them. Yet he doesn't know the Sheikh Al-Albani who lives not far away from his house. He doesn't know who Sheikh Al-Albani. He said, Wallahi, they were asking me, those people, and who's Sheikh Al-Albani? He said, Saudi Arabia, they're not living in Jordan. So these people are so ignorant in such a stage that they are laymen. So the layman differs from one person. We are not saying to the person who's a layman that you, before you take Abu Hanifa's saying, you have to go to the university and study for years in order to take Abu Hanifa's saying. Nobody would say that. But we would say to the person who can't be able to know the proof would be better. We know, and every person knows, whenever he takes a verdict, he took it for the sake of Allah or he took it for whims and desire. I'll give you an example so you understand that. Okay, this is a real example that took place with me myself. When we had the Islamic Bank being established in Jordan, Islamic Bank is everything not Islamic except for the name. Do you understand me? Everything is not Islamic except for the name. It's still an Islamic Bank. It had some Islamic deal which is called Al-Qard Al-Hasan. Qard Al-Hasan means to give you a loan without interest. And the Qard Al-Hasan was about 2,000, 3,000, a lot of money. But later on, when they got the customers enough, they cut it down to 500 and not to anybody. Only for the person who wants to get married. 500. 500 is going to do to you nothing. So these people, they were making projects and transaction with the Islamic Bank. And when they ask us, they ask Sheikh Al-Halabi, Sheikh Al-Halabi tells them that this is Bank al-Islami. I remember what he says, like the Bank al-Americani. It's like the American bank. Same thing, no difference. And this deal is haram. They say, but such and such, Uthman Mansour, another name I invented. Uthman, whatever his name, he had gave fatwa because, this person is known as, for example, let's say he's a PhD teacher in the Jamia and he's got one of these big turbans on top of his head. Such and such person, okay, he gave fatwa, it's halal. We tell them that such and such person, by the way, he is one of their employees. That means he receives salary. If he receives salary, and he's going to give fatwa what? They don't accept it because it gives them what they want. Then later on, years passes, and Jordan made a peace treaty with Israel. The first one in Wadi Araba. First peace treaty with Israel. I don't know if you remember that or not. At the time of King Hussein, rahimahullah. So these people, the same ones, I remember the same person. Wallahi, those people who are the scholars who had made the fatwa, it is halal, they are government scum, they are shayateen. After that, the same people who had made fatwa for the Islamic Bank. The one who made you for halal, now Wallahi, is shaitan. But he's the one who had made you halal for your transaction, you remember? So you're jumping from one fatwa to another according to your whims and desire. You don't like the peace now with Israel. So he's saying any person who made it halal is to be a'udhu billah government scum. But when it came to the Islamic ban, he said, no, he's knowledgeable. And he doesn't know anything. How do you know he's knowledgeable? How can a person who's not a doctor knows that this doctor is knowledgeable? How? Tell me, Kwani, how? Is it because he gave you a good treatment? Is that how you know he's knowledgeable? No. The one who says doctor is knowledgeable is the one doctors like him. They will say he's skillful, he's knowledgeable. The scholar who says a scholar is a scholar. Not like you, a layman doesn't understand anything. He's a good scholar. He's mashallah. He don't know anything. Because one day he says good because he goes along with what you want. And then one day you put him down. I went to Hajj one day, one of the years, and I was in charge of one of the coaches of Jordan. I was in charge, being sent by the Ministry of Jordan. So when we came to just to give you an idea, when we came to the 8th day of Dhul Hijjah, people go to Mina. They go to Mina. But the Jordanians and other Hujjaj, they skip Mina, they go to Arafah. I stayed in Mina on myself and group, and then I followed them to Arafah. Then we went back from Arafah finished, and then Muzdalifah, and then we went back to Mina to throw the Jamarat. You know, throwing the Jamarat, listen, Ikhwani, throwing the Jamarat, all right, is to be done on the first day, which is the Eid, after sunrise. Do you understand that? First day of the Eid, Eid al-Adha, to be done after sunrise. Except for those who are weak and women. They could throw the Jamrah after midnight because they want to avoid the crash, the stampede. So, those people who are even able, and there's nothing wrong with them, they said, well, we will do it after midnight. Straight away. So they Muzdalifah, just half an hour, stay there, and they go. I said to them, Ya Ikhwani, it's not allowed. You have to be after sunrise. Shaykh Ibn Baz says okay. And Shaykh Ibn Baz says okay, no problem. Shaykh Ibn Baz said, no problem to throw the Jamrah before sunrise. Shaykh Al-Albani says, no, it's not allowed. I tried to convince them. They said no, because they want the easiest. So they threw the Jamrah. Actually, they've done everything before the day of Hajj. So before the sunrise of the day of Al-Adha, they have shaved and they have cut and they have done and they have thrown the Jamrah. The following day, which is the first day of the days of Tashriq, you have to throw the Jamrah when? After what? Dhuhr. After Dhuhr. After the Zenith. These people, they want what? The relaxing fatwa. There's a fatwa which the Jordanian gave. No problem to throw the Jamrah of the first and the second day in the night. So if you want it in the night, to throw the Jamrah for the following day. And to throw it even before Dhuhr. Ya ikhwani. But it's not allowed. They said, I said, who said this? They said, Tawus. I said, who's Tawus? By the way, Tawus is one of the scholars of fiqh. Tawus. They don't understand who's Tawus. I said to them, but Ibn Baz, the one who followed him, his fatwa, who said it's okay to throw before sunrise on the first day, now he says not allowed. And he used to send even murshideen, people who don't throw before dhuhr. Forget about him. We throw. Why? Because Tawus. So now, Sheikh Ibn Baz, no good. Ibn Baz was good. This is jumping from fatwa to another, called talfiq. And this is where with a person, he تتبع رخص العلماء. من تتبع رخص العلماء فقد تزندق. He who does follow all the mistakes of the scholars, which synchronize with women's desire, you are onto the route of being kafir, zundaqa. Because this person makes it halal in such, he makes it haram in such a thing. So those people want to follow the mistakes. I listen to music because of Ibn Hazm. I drink the beer because of Abu Hanifah. Look at this. Jumps. He wants to take from the mistakes. Ibn Hazm, he said no music halal. But Ibn Hazm said the mut'ah is haram. No, we'll take mut'ah. Different madhab. That's how it is. Jumping from one fatwa to another to suit their desire. Jazakallah khair for that question. طيب. No question. تفضل يا دكتور. So you are a person who is not a layman. You're a person who is a student of knowledge. And you have asked the sheikh, and the sheikh said to you something, and you trust him. Halal haram. Okay. Is it allowed for me? Is it allowed for me to take that verdict without taking the proof? Is that your question? Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just say that if you ask him what is the proof, the sheikh should not be annoyed. It's very important because why do you ask me what's the proof? قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Say, give me your proof before if you are truthful. Give me burhan. I want to know what's your proof. So I have some, when I say something, somebody asking me, what is your proof for this hadith? No problem, I'll give him the proof. Okay? Or he will tell you this is in such and such book, in such and such, no problem. But if you didn't ask him, okay, and you have settled to his opinion, knowing the fact that you are following not him, what he had made the fatwa on him is no problem. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you're not following his individual saying. You're following him because you trusted that he had taken that from the hadith, which is a good hadith. But I would say it would be better for you to ask, but it's not compulsory. Because you know that you are not following this person. You're following what he had adopted from the hadith of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Good. That's a very good question. طيب إخواني مسعود. يلا يا مسعود. Ask. Again. Yeah. Umrah. Okay, let's go Umrah. يلا. She cannot leave without completing the Umrah. She has to do the Umrah. And this is just like if you enter a prayer, you should not be cutting off the prayer. And if she's bleeding, menstruation, she should delay her trip. I would ask you, if this woman, forget about she's bleeding for her menses. She had a broken waist and a foot. She had an accident. Wouldn't she delay her journey or not? She would. She had no option because she had to go to the hospital. So the same thing, that pay a bit extra money and delay yourself until you are cleansed and you do finish the Umrah. And we do not say what Sheikh Islam had said, that is to tie up and to pad herself in order for the blood to be checked in, and then she does the rotation around the Kaaba with the blood on. This is not correct. The correct opinion of the other scholars, what they said, that she should wait until she is cleansed. Until she's cleansed. And usually the woman should have a mahram, and the mahram should stay with her. That's why the mahram is important. Now, so if the other group had left, she would stay with her mahram, book another flight, and then inshallah do her umrah. نعم. تفضل يا أحمد. أحمد أبو إيش يا أحمد؟ أبو إيش يا أحمد؟ أبو إيش؟ طيبة؟ طيبة. تفضل يا طيبة. أبو طيبة. نعم. Which matter? For what? Well, no, you take the opinion which is you think it is closer to the haqq. You don't take the easy one. Okay, you want to take the one which is follows the haqq. So if you are a person who is can know, you're a student of knowledge, you're learning now, you should be knowing there are tools by which you could distinguish which one is closer to the haqq. If you're not a layman, then you will know that don't take the opinion of Uthman Muhammad, it's another name I've invented, against, for example, Sheikh Ibn Baz. Take Sheikh Ibn Baz, don't take Uthman Muhammad, which I have invented. I don't know who's Uthman Muhammad. طيب. Now we go into Shammam, please. Shammam. Salam Turakan. The Usul al-Fiqh is many, but I would start with the small booklet of Al-Risala, Imam Shafi rahimahullah. Okay, and then I will go to Al-Waraqat, Sharh Al-Waraqat. It's a good book as well for Usul book. It's just small to start with. And then you go slowly. But Usul al-Fiqh, it has to be done after you learn Arabic. You can't do it when you're English. Don't take Usul al-Fiqh when you don't understand Arabic. That's not correct. I mean, I'm amazed of those students who teaches Usul al-Fiqh to somebody who doesn't understand Arabic. Usul al-Fiqh is just, they are terminologies in Arabic. They're not to be translated into English. نعم. تفضل يا آخر سؤال, the last question. These people who say that the Imam or the Prophet Isa is going to go down and rule in the Madhab Hanafi, it's not the saying of just one or two. This is the saying of a big group who follows the Imam Hanifah, Abu Hanifa. This is called fanaticism. Fanatism. Ta'assub. Is that the word? Fanatism? Ta'assub? Yeah, correct. Ta'assub. What is this? Abu Hanifa? I mean, subhanallah. Isa alayhi salam, when going to come down, doesn't know Abu Hanifa, doesn't know Imam Shafi, doesn't know any of these Imams. What are you going to tell him? Prophet Isa, please study Imams Abu Hanifa's madhab before you lead us. What is this? It's a joke. Allah al-Musta'an. Allah makes you laugh. He doesn't know any of these madhab. Isa alayhi salam. He's going to rule with the rule of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But it's very important to know, Ikhwani, that he comes as a mujaddid. He does not come as a messenger after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why it was important for him. The first prayer that he prayed behind Al-Mahdi. Very important. Because he prayed, led the prayer, that means he's coming with a new Sharia. So he said, Imamukum minkum. Your Imam is from you. So Al-Mahdi was going to go down, back. He said to him, no, you lead. So the first prayer, it was important. Imam Al-Mahdi, who is not as good as Imam Prophet Isa salam, he led to make sure that this Sharia is not going to be abolished. It's going to be staying. The Prophet ﷺ is the last of the prophets. وأسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يميتنا على لا إله إلا الله جزاكم الله خيرا وأحسن الله بارك الله سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك